water is cold, and the sunlight from the surface world fractures into 1,000 dancing spears of light. You are suspended in the deep blue of a Jurassic Sea, an ocean that existed long before the first mountains we know today had even risen. Below you, a shape cuts through the water with impossible grace. It is a creature of sublime design, a fusiform body, a powerful tail fin, and a long snout bristling with sharp teeth. It moves like a modern tuna, hunts like a dolphin, a living torpedo of muscle and instinct. Now let's journey back in time and open the case file on a lost world. The creature you're watching seems so perfectly suited to this marine kingdom that you'd assume it was born of it. But that is the first illusion, the first clue in our detective story that doesn't quite add up. Because this animal is no fish, and it's certainly no mammal. This is a reptile, a member of a group that first conquered the land. Its very name is a paradox. Ichthyosaurus, the fish lizard. It's a name that captures the central mystery perfectly. Its ancestors were air-breathing, four-legged animals that walked on solid ground. So how did it end up here? A master of the open ocean, so perfectly transformed that it would never touch the shore again. What incredible evolutionary journey turned legs into flippers and scales into smooth, hydrodynamic skin. This isn't just the story of an ancient animal. It's the story of a great return, a biological puzzle locked in stone, waiting for the right clues to be pieced together. The first clues to this incredible transformation were not found in the deep ocean, but on a storm-battered shore in southern England. Picture yourself there now, in the early 1800s, standing on the beaches of Lyme Regis. The air is thick with salt spray, and dark shale cliffs crumble under the relentless assault of the waves. After every storm, the land gives up its dead, releasing the bones of creatures locked away for nearly 200 million years. This is our case file's origin point, the Jurassic Coast. And every great detective story needs its detective. Ours is not a seasoned scholar in a dusty university office, but a young girl named Mary Anning. The daughter of a poor cabinet maker, Mary scours these dangerous cliffs not for scientific glory, but for survival. She has a remarkable gift, an uncanny eye for spotting the subtle curve of a fossilized vertebra or the glint of an ancient tooth among the common stones. To others, these are curiosities. To Mary, they are a language she is learning to read. One day, after a fierce storm, her brother Joseph finds a strange, 4-foot-long skull. But it is Mary, only around 12 years old, who meticulously returns to the spot over the following months, carefully chipping away at the rock to reveal what is attached. It is a revelation, a complete skeleton of a creature that science has no name for. It has a backbone like a lizard, a snout like a dolphin, and flippers where legs should be. The local people call it a sea dragon. It is the first complete ichthyosaur skeleton ever brought to light, an articulated body of evidence that proves a monster once swam where these cliffs now stand. This single discovery, unearthed by a girl with a hammer and an unshakable will, is about to force the world to rethink the very history of life. With the specimen laid out before us, the real investigation can begin. The skeleton itself is a treasure trove of clues, a blueprint for a life we must reconstruct. The first thing you notice is the skull, and specifically the enormous hole where the eye once was. This was no ordinary eye. Encircling the massive lens in life was a ring of bony plates called a sclerotic ring. You can see it perfectly preserved in the fossil. These plates acted like an internal scaffold, protecting the giant eyeball from the crushing pressure of the deep ocean. This single piece of evidence is our first major breakthrough. It tells us the Ichthyosaurus wasn't just a surface dweller. It was a creature of the depths, a hunter that could plunge far down into the twilight zone where sunlight barely reaches. Its huge eyes were like ultra-sensitive cameras designed to capture every last photon of light, allowing it to spot the faint, bioluminescent glow of squid or the silvery flash of fish in the abyssal darkness. Next, you look at the limbs. They are not legs, but they are not quite fins either. They are paddles, and when we look at the bones within, we see the ghost of a terrestrial hand. The fossil reveals not 5, but sometimes more digits, and within each digit, an extraordinary number of bones, forming a tightly bound, rigid flipper. This is the anatomical signature of an animal whose ancestors' feet once walked on land. These were not for propulsion. That came from its powerful fish-like tail. No, these flippers were for steering and stability, acting like the hydroplanes on a submarine, allowing for graceful, precise movements as it banked and swooped after its prey. The skeleton is speaking, telling us a story of a profound reinvention. Its anatomy paints the picture of a perfect hunter, but a detective needs more than a profile. To truly understand this creature's life, we need to find its victims. We need the paleontological equivalent of a smoking gun. For that, we must look inside the skeleton itself, into the space once occupied by its stomach. Incredibly, in some specimens, the animal's last meal is preserved, fossilized right inside its ribcage. It is a snapshot in time, a final meal frozen for 150 million years. At first, it might just look like a dark, jumbled mass of stone. But under magnification, this mass reveals its secrets. It is packed with thousands of tiny hook-like objects, almost like microscopic thorns. Alongside them are fish scales and vertebrae. For decades, the identity of these hooks was a mystery, but we now know what they are. They are the arm hooks of belemnites, ancient, squid-like cephalopods that filled the Jurassic seas in vast shoals. The Ichthyosaurus wasn't just eating fish. It was a voracious predator of these fast-moving invertebrates. Now the picture of the hunt becomes dramatically clearer. You can almost see it. The ichthyosaur, using its massive eyes, spots a shoal of belemnites. It accelerates, its long jaws snapping shut, its needle-like teeth perfectly designed not to chew, but to grip slippery prey. It swallows them whole, and later, the indigestible, chitinous hooks from their arms remain in its gut. This is the direct evidence we were looking for. It confirms the ichthyosaur's role as a mid-level predator, a swift hunter, keeping the populations of squid and small fish in check. The sea dragon has a defined place in its long-lost world. We have built a picture of the ichthyosaur's life, but a giant question mark remains about its very beginning. As an air-breathing reptile, how did it bring its young into the world? The most familiar model for reptiles is the sea turtle, which must laboriously haul itself onto a beach to bury its eggs in the sand. But one look at the ichthyosaur's specialized flippers tells us this was impossible. They were elegant, steering hydroplanes, utterly useless for carrying its weight on land. To be stranded on a beach would have been a death sentence. The solution to this puzzle is perhaps the most incredible and moving piece of evidence in our entire case file. In the fine-grained shale of Germany, paleontologists found something miraculous. Skeletons of adult ichthyosaurs with tiny, perfectly formed babies fossilized inside their abdomens. This was definitive proof that they carried their young internally, but the most astonishing specimen was yet to come. It is a fossil of a mother who died in the very act of giving birth. You can see it with your own eyes. A small baby ichthyosaur emerging from the mother's birth canal. And crucially, it is coming out tail first. This is not a random orientation. It is the exact same adaptation seen in modern dolphins and whales. By being born tail first, the air-breathing baby doesn't risk drowning during a potentially long and difficult birth. It is only fully exposed to the water at the very last moment, when it can immediately swim to the surface for its first breath. This fossil is a breathtaking window into a moment of prehistoric life and death, and it proves, beyond any doubt, that ichthyosaurs gave live birth in the open ocean, completely untethered from the land. The fish lizard was a sea dragon through and through. The clues have been gathered. We have the bones, the final meal, and the miracle of a birth frozen in time. Now we can put it all together. Let's leave the museum and the windswept cliffs behind, and use this evidence to resurrect the world the Ichthyosaurus inhabited. You are swimming now in the warm, sunlit waters of a Jurassic ocean. Below you, the seafloor is alive with ammonites, their spiral shells bobbing gently in the current. Great shoals of fish, numbering in the thousands, move as one, their scales flashing like a single silver entity. This is the world our fish lizard was built for. You see one now, sleek and powerful, patrolling the upper layers of the water. It dives, a streak of living shadow, its huge eyes already adjusting to the growing dark. It is hunting, but it is not the only giant here. In the distance, you see a completely different kind of reptile, a long-necked plesiosaur, using its incredible neck to pluck fish from crevices in a reef. It is a more patient, methodical hunter, occupying a different role in this complex ecosystem. But both of these creatures swim in the shadow of something far larger, a true leviathan. From the deep, a shape resolves itself, a predator that makes the ichthyosaur seem small. It is a pliosaur, a colossal beast with a skull the size of a car and teeth like railroad spikes. This is the apex predator, the great white shark and the killer whale of its time, rolled into one terrifying package. The ichthyosaur is a swift and deadly hunter, but here, it too is on the menu. This was not an empty ocean ruled by a single monster. It was a dynamic, dangerous, and vibrant world, a complex web of life and death, where our sea dragon was a vital but vulnerable thread. We have seen the living creature in its world, but now we must return to the shore, to that first fossil, and ask the final question. What is its true legacy? When Mary Anning unearthed that first skeleton, she did more than discover a new animal. She provided one of the first pieces of irrefutable evidence for extinction, and for a world unimaginably ancient. The ichthyosaur helped shatter the prevailing belief that the Earth was only a few thousand years old. It was a monster from a lost time, concrete proof that entire worlds could rise and fall, a concept that fundamentally changed our perception of the planet's history. Its second great legacy is as a perfect, stunning example of convergent evolution. Think of the shape of a dolphin, a tuna, and an ichthyosaur. One is a mammal, one is a fish, and one is a reptile. They are from completely different branches of the tree of life, yet they arrived at the same streamlined, torpedo-shaped body plan. Why? Because the laws of physics are the same for everyone. Water is dense, and this shape is the most efficient solution for moving through it at speed. The ichthyosaur is a masterclass in how evolution, given a similar problem, will often arrive at a similar elegant answer. And this brings us to the most common myth we must debunk. For all its grandeur, the Ichthyosaurus was not a dinosaur. Dinosaurs belong to a very specific group of reptiles that dominated the land. Ichthyosaurs belong to a completely separate lineage that returned to the sea. Calling an ichthyosaur a swimming dinosaur is like calling a bat a flying mouse. They may share a distant ancestor, but they are entirely different stories. The fish lizard's tale is a unique and powerful epic of adaptation all its own. The light of the Jurassic sun fades, the sounds of the ancient ocean fall silent, and we are back in the present day, holding not a living creature, but a cold piece of stone. And yet, it's no longer just a stone, is it? Within it, we have seen a world. We have witnessed a hunt in the deep and the miracle of a birth. We have felt the shadow of a leviathan pass overhead. These fossils are not just the remains of life. They are invitations. They are the clues that allow us to become detectives of deep time, to piece together the grand, sprawling story of our planet. The worlds may be lost, but the clues they left behind ensure that their stories and the wonder they inspire will never truly be forgotten.